Welcome to another installment of Black Male Voices.
My name is Quincy Gerard Ledbetter. I was born and raised in Woodbridge, Virginia, but now I live in Brooklyn, New York. I went to school at Virginia State University. I did not want to go to college. But my parents are academics, so I kind of didn't have a choice. Um, I'm glad I went. And when I went, I had a hard time figuring out like what I wanted to major in. And I figured, everything is a business. So I majored in business management and administration. And, it was good because it's the closest thing to sort of like general studies that I could find. Everything else seemed very specific, but, you know, um, business seemed universal. Even entertainment, which is what I wanted to be in, and the arts, which is what I wanted to be involved in, it has business at its foundation. So I was like, yeah, I'll major in business, call it a day. I I do a lot of stuff. I do a lot of things. I am a filmmaker.
Do my niece's hair, and it was so moving to me. I don't know exactly why, but I think it's because it felt like she was passing something down to her, and it got me thinking because I just started growing my hair recently, which I hadn't done
And when I say filmmaker, I'm one of those. I came up in the DSLR revolution, so I'm self-taught. I didn't go to film school. So when I became a filmmaker, I started writing, directing, DP, um, camera op, editing, color grading, producing. If it has anything to do with getting a film done, that's what I do. But my main focus is writing and directing. Those are my favorite things to do. Um, I'm also a photographer, and I got my start in music, and I'm still a musician. I've played in a bunch of bands. Um, I've made music for people. I've produced music for people, but lately I most of my music is film scores. I score my own films, and I also am a solo artist. I, make music and I sing and all that stuff. Um, so as far as what I do, if it has anything to do with creating something specifically in film and music, that's what I do. The ways what I do changes the narrative of Black males in America. Um, I'm not so sure it changes it. I think it just adds on to it. I don't think if you focus on the narrative, the true narrative of Black males in America, it doesn't need to be changed. You know what I mean? If you are familiar with Black culture, if you know Black men, then you know we are just as pluralistic as everyone else. And the narrative that the media would make you believe is what's false. So I don't think we need to quote change. I don't think we need to quote change the narrative of Black males in America. I think people need to realize what the real narrative of Black males and Black people is in America. I think that's what we should be doing. And when I make things, when I write a film or I direct something or I make music or I express myself through my art in a public way, I don't try to change the narrative. I'm just being myself, and who I am may be different from who my cousin is or who my brother is. Even though my brother and I are twins, like we're two very different people, you know. So this thing about changing the narrative, I'm trying to get away from that. I'm adding to the narrative of Black men in America, because when you say change the narrative, It implies that there's something that's true that needs to be changed. But the thing that we're talking about changing is what's not true. You dig what I'm saying? So like, we don't need to change the narrative. The people who believe the bullshit narrative need to catch up to us, you know? So what I do adds to the narrative. I don't think it changes it at all. And it expands the narrative. But I don't think the narrative needs to be changed. I think people just need to stop believing the bullshit. When you're black, not just a black male, but when you're black or brown or when you're a person of color, when you're black, you are exposed to injustice from birth. I mean, there are studies that say that black women are more likely to die in childbirth, than any other race in America. And that in and of itself is not only an affront to black women, but it's also an affront to the child that is being born, you know? So before you're even born, you are exposed to some type of injustice, which is not right. It's not fair. And it's pretty absurd when you think about it. But as far as like injustices that I've encountered, I mean, do you have a minute? You know, the most injustice that I've witnessed is not the cartoonish injustice that you see in like movies or that you hear about on television. Most of the injustice that I've encountered has been really covert. It's that new contemporary kind of racism where ignorance is the new jam as far as racism. You know, oh, I didn't know, I couldn't call you that. Oh, I posted a Black Lives Matter post on my social media just yesterday. I'm on your side, but you're also oppressing me. You know what I mean? So a lot of the injustice that I've, been a victim of and that I've seen has happened in the workplace where there's a lot of bureaucracy and a lot of protocols. But what people need to start understanding is that bureaucracy and protocol are tools of the oppressor. You dig what I'm saying? So, if someone does me wrong and in a place of employment, like at my job, and then I have to go to my job, HR, my superiors or what have you, I need to go to the oppressor to say, hey, someone within your system has oppressed me, and I leave it up to them to fix it. What do you think is going to happen? So the injustice that I've encountered has happened almost at every job I've ever had, especially lately, the older I get, because when you're younger, you think you're invisible, and when you're younger, you think you're invincible, and you kind of have this pompous attitude. You're like, well, things are changing. But then you get older and you start to become more ingrained in these systems, and you start to become a part of these industries, and you try to advance in these industries. And when you get older, advancement in the industry, whatever industry it is, advancement in an industry is more imperative to your survival when you get older. So when you get older and you try to advance and you realize that you can't, when you try to advance and you realize that people conspire to stop you from advancing, that's when you start to really see the injustice that our parents were talking about. You know what I mean? And that's when it gets really gnarly, because how do you fight that when everything is built on a foundation of oppression? How do you uproot the foundation and create something new? And I think that's what we need to be doing when we talk about like changing the state of our country, the state of our society, and the state of our people. We need to start uprooting these foundations and planting new seeds, because that's the only way it's going to happen. That is the only way it's going to happen. The way injustice affects me is physical, it's mental, it's psychological, and it's a heavy burden to bear. And unless you've gone through it, you can know it exists and you can sympathize with people, but you have no idea what it's like to wake up in this skin every day, and know that you're about to face some bullshit. And it is every day. It is every day. You could stay inside, inside of your apartment and not go outside. But as soon as you turn on the TV, you see it in some way. If you're really hip to what's happening, you see it and you feel it. And even existing in this skin, the things that you think about, the things that you worry about, the pathways you take to get to certain places, physical places, places in communication, like you have to go the long way sometimes. Whereas, white people don't have to do that, So it's affected me on a lot of different levels. I struggle with a lot of emotional stuff and, that I won't get into right now, but in a lot of self-reflection. I'm fortunate that, I have parents that raised me to share with them, even when I didn't, just knowing that I could kind of helped me in a way, because I can articulate the way I feel about things, and I can kind of work some things out, but it's still a mess up here. And I need help. But yeah, it's affected me on every possible level that you can think of. The interesting thing about the George Floyd incident was that, and I hate that I'm going to be honest, I didn't feel anything, because it's so commonplace to see a black body being murdered by police or harassed by police, or getting their life taken, their rights taken by police, that when I saw it, I was kind of like, man, they got another brother, they got another one. Oh, well, let me get back to work. That's kind of what my reaction was. And that's not to say I don't care. It's all I care about. But that initial reaction to be like, man, another one, and then try to move on, that's a defense mechanism that is kind of based on my reply to the last question, which is how has this affected you? The way it's affected me is my gut reaction when I see tragedy is to purposely try to force myself to not feel it. Because if I feel everything that I feel, if I express everything that I feel, then the world will burn. I will burn this motherfucker down. And the scary thing for society, and the reason why society needs to start paying attention to this stuff, is that every black person feels that way. Whether they have the same initial reaction that I had or not, every black person is fed up with being treated the way that we're being treated. Every person of color is fed up with this shit. And, somebody in a viral video said it best. You're lucky that we're asking for peace and not seeking revenge. You're so lucky. So the George Floyd situation affected me in a way that hurt on different levels, because not only was it traumatizing to see another black body killed on television over and over and over and over again, but it also hurts in that I have become the kind of person, due to so much injustice and due to seeing so many black people murdered by police, that my initial reaction to protect my own mentality and to protect, honestly, the people around me, is to sort of force myself to not feel anything. You know what I mean? Which, that anger is going somewhere. I have a lot of outlets through my art, my music, and my films, but it's starting to feel lately like that's not enough. So I've been thinking a lot lately about what to do, because what I've been doing isn't enough. I think the current climate of the country is fucked. That's the word. That's my word for it. We are fucked. And I'm not a cynic. I don't want to be pessimistic or whatever, but I think we are in trouble. A lot of people are calling this a reckoning. I hope they're right. But, you know, society is, our country and our society was built on a foundation of protocols and bureaucracy that was ideated by the oppressor. You see, so when something is ideated by oppressive people and they lay the foundation for an entire country, an entire society based on oppressive principles, then when left to its own devices, that system, that society will reflect the ideas and the behavior of the oppressor. You see what I'm saying? So the thing that needs to happen, like I said before, the thing that needs to happen to fix what's going on is we need to uproot that oppressive foundation and throw it out and replace it with something that is not oppressive. You see what I'm saying? And I don't know what that looks like. I know that people, one thing that's hip right now is people are really into these isms, you know, capitalism, socialism, communism, you know. But I think that the right answer, and I don't know, I'm not a doctor in this, but I think that the right answer is sort of like a collective idea of what is best for everybody, you know what I mean? And sort of setting up checks and balances so that whatever this end result does not lead our leadership to corruption, because power breeds corruption and vice versa. You know what I'm saying? And that is human nature. You know, that's human nature. So that's inherent in us. And we need to be cognizant of that when we set up this new system. Because when you set up a new system, you have to set up checks and balances to check that system and to check the leadership. And we say we have that now. We have, you know, the justice system. That's supposed to be our checks and balances, but I mean, look at the statistics, like who suffers in the justice system the most? You know what I mean? And when an injustice is done to you, then you have to use the system to battle the system, which is a fucked idea. Like, that's not how shit should work. You know what I mean? So I don't know what the answer is. I think that we're all getting the wrong answer by thinking, well, socialism is the answer, or communism is the answer, or capitalism is the answer. I think that seems misguided to me, because all these isms leads to oppression when left to its own devices, you see. And check history, like it always does. It always does. So what we need is a collective, like, hybrid of these isms and a very stringent, very strict system of checks and balances, you know what I mean, to govern that, whatever this new foundation is. But, you know, I haven't figured out what that is yet. When I do, I'll run for president. The thing that inspires me to keep going, to keep striving, to keep making strides is my obsession with creation. Like, I have an uncontrollable compulsion to make things and share it so that people get inspired. You know, I am very inspired by film. I am very inspired by music. The most transformative moments of my life can be connected to my first time hearing something or seeing something, you know? So I've made it my life's mission to make things that people can hear, make things that people can see that may change them. You know what I mean? So my life goal is to inspire everyone the way I've been inspired by life, you know? And I have the ability to do it. And I think that's a great gift that I've been given, that I have, and that I've cultivated, and that I kind of worked to refine, so that whenever I make something that people can hear, or I make something that people can see, I'm inspiring them, or I'm moving them, or I'm lifting them up, you know, in the way that I've been lifted up. Because these moments that when I've been changed are, I mean, that's the drug. That's what life is. It's life. I want to create something that people feel changes them, and that's the only thing that pushes me forward. You know what I'm most proud of? I am most proud that I'm about to be 40 years old as of recording this video and my involvement in this project. I am about to be 40 years old, and all my life I've been told that I would be dead or in jail by the time I was 27. Like, since I was a child, since I was 6 or 7 years old, I understood that statistically I would be dead or in jail by the time I was 27 years old. And I am almost 40 years old. I am almost 40 years old, and I am not dead, clearly, and I have not been in prison, and I am not in prison. And I'm pretty fucking proud of that. I'm proud of that. My brother is alive, hasn't been to prison. I have other friends that are black. Unfortunately, most of my friends, have either been to jail or been to prison. Some I've lost a bunch. And when I see that statistic start to manifest itself, and I see how the decisions that I've made that are based on the education and the rearing that my parents raised me with, when I see that I've made it this far, I mean, I gotta take a lap. I gotta take a victory lap for that. I'm proud of that. I think what I love most about being a black man is that, I've come to learn that black culture is one of the richest cultures, not financially, but as far as like culturally. Like, almost every form of music and dance has roots in Africa, with black people, and I love being a part of that story. In film, I have a lot to pull from. Like when I'm writing a film, or I'm directing a film, or when I'm writing a song or singing or something like that. But with film specifically, when I'm writing and when I'm directing actors, I have an articulation of experience, of nuanced feelings that is exclusive to black people, and people of color in general. I'm only speaking from a perspective of a black man because I'm black, but we have something that, and this isn't a diss, this isn't, me kicking white people down, but we have something that, I feel sorry that white people don't have. Like, white people don't know what it's like to experience racism. They don't know what it's like to be in a place of employment and be systemically oppressed. And they don't know what it's like to have to power through that. You know what I'm saying? They don't know what it's like to build something through oppression. Like, white people have built stuff, but they don't know what it's like to build something with overbearing systemic oppression weighing on their shoulders. So there's like there's a certain dexterity that they don't have. And I'm not saying that to say they're weaker, but it's a different kind of dexterity. You know what I'm saying? It's like, there's one time where me and a friend of mine went to a takeout restaurant, and we walk in, and the woman behind the counter treated us like shit. Like, she was having a bad day or something. And she was very rude to us, She was not treating us well, and not talking to us like we were, people. And my friend, who was white, couldn't handle it. Did not know it was the worst thing that had ever happened. Had no idea how to handle the situation. Whereas with me, that's every day. You know what I'm saying? So he was like, I can't believe you're treating us like this, and I'm never coming here again. And da da da. Whereas I understood she doesn't care if we come back here. You know, here's the money, give me the food. You know what I mean? And I'll be on my way. And we took our food and we were on our way. My friend was destroyed for the rest of the day, you know, talking about writing letters and all this other kind of shit. Whereas as soon as I left that restaurant, I was back to life. I was back to, okay, this is what I got to do today. I got to do my laundry. I got to do all this stuff. I got to eat this food. And there's an emotional dexterity that we have. But at the same time, forgive me for rambling, but at the same time, there's something very sad about that. You know, there's something very sad that I am so used to being mistreated that when I am mistreated, it doesn't slow me down. You dig what I'm saying? When I'm moving, when I'm on a roll creatively or in business or, you know, professionally or with communication, when someone tries to stop me, I jump the hurdle because I've been jumping hurdles my entire life. Whereas if you are privileged in this life and you're not used to jumping hurdles, it's harder for you. It's easier for you to get tripped up. That, my friends, is the best thing about being Black. We are tough and we have to think on our feet all the time. And it gives us a different kind of creativity. It gives us a different kind of dexterity. It gives us a different kind of camaraderie. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's the best thing about being Black. Like, if you make it far enough, it's built into you. That kind of leg up is built into you, you know? Again, not saying that we're better, but we're just different. And that difference helps us navigate tough situations in a way that, when used correctly, can help us stay focused on what's important, as opposed to kind of going into an uproar about like nonsense. People can support me by supporting their community. You know, I'm good. I'm gonna be fine. You know, I'm moving. I'm on my way. I got talent. I'm Black. I'm young. I'm killing it. I think. And I'm breathing, so I'm good. If you want to support me, support yourself and support the community, support the culture, because ultimately that's what's really valuable to me. Like, I can give you my website, which is qledbetter.com, and I can give you my IG handle, which is @qledbetter. But like, what are you gonna do with that? Like, you're gonna go to my website, check it out. Oh, cool. You know, gotta follow me on Instagram. You know, watch me dick around on the internet in my stories. Oh, nice. It's pretty funny, you know. But like, the way you can help me is by helping the community and helping yourself. So like, lifting each other up is how you can help me. Because when we lift each other up, we're lifting each other up.
To support the cause, click on the link in the bio to make a donation, or follow us on all media platforms. To submit the Black Male Voices, email us at blackmalevoices.us@gmail.com.